Hey guys, welcome back. Mama Sam here. So today I'm going to be doing a review of the movie Hereditary. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, there will be spoilers. So Hereditary is whoa. So Hereditary is a movie that I heard everywhere online, like, you have to watch this movie. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's the scariest movie I've ever seen, all this kind of stuff. When I hear that, I immediately am like skeptical. So my mom and my sister, they both saw this movie and they were both like, I didn't like it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to watch it anyway. Today's Disney Cup. Tink. So as soon as I saw the A24 title, I was like, oh no. They've never made a movie that I like. So the movie opens up with like a dollhouse and it like zooms in and it almost it gave me this feeling like, okay, so we're seeing this like from the outside in. The dollhouse represents how people, I guess, are on display for others in their lives. I don't really know. That's kind of what I got from it. So I thought the first like half of this movie, like the first hour of this movie was really good. Toni Collette, this woman is phenomenal. I don't think I've ever seen anything with her that I didn't like. It's a slow burn type of movie, especially the first half, but it's not a boring type of slow burn. It'll keep you engaged. A lot of really interesting stuff is going on. A lot of creepy stuff is happening. So to go back to the dollhouse, like I originally said, I really do think it was supposed to represent like people looking in from the outside. But a lot of the stuff I didn't get. Like the whole part with the mom in bed and the grandma with her boob out. What? Like, what was that supposed to represent? I don't know. It was really, really weird. The little girl, she's also super weird. She like makes these really weird clicking noises and she seems very socially awkward. She's very introverted, which I can totally understand. But she was super, super weird. Also, the relationship with the husband and the wife seemed a little weird. Like when I've watched the movie twice, and the first time I watched it, I'm like, are these his kids? Like, is this her second husband? They didn't seem to have a real strong relationship to me. So the most memorable part of the movie happens like, I don't know, a half hour in, was it? I didn't check the time frame of it. But the little girl, okay, it's so ridiculous. Her brother is going to a high school party, okay? And the mom is like, well, did you ask your sister? Now, I know they said in there the little girl, she's like a 13. When I first saw it, I thought she was like 10. She looked a lot younger to me. But still, even if she is 13, her brother was, I assume, a senior in high school, and he's going to a party, and you actually asked if your son is going to be, drinking. When he's like, well, no, of course I'm not old enough. And she's like, oh, come on, BS. I know that you drink. I just want to know if you are drinking. And he's like, no. Okay, so you already know that your son is maybe planning on drinking at this party. And you're asking him to take your daughter, your little baby daughter, to a high school party? Like, I totally didn't understand her reasoning. Now, maybe she wanted her to get out of the house. Maybe the daughter had been cooped up for a really long time. I really don't know. I'm not going to totally blame the mom. She was under a lot of stress. There was a lot going on, okay? And there's two parents in that household, so it wasn't just her. The son obviously didn't want to take, his name's Peter. He obviously didn't want to take Charlie as the little girl. But he ends up taking her. Well, this little girl has like a major severe nut allergy, okay? And she knows it, and her parents know it. And she's going somewhere with her brother and by herself, and they didn't think to have the little girl take an EpiPen. Like me, I have my pills on me all the time, everywhere I go. I never leave them behind. And my pills aren't even for anything. My pills are for like anxiety disorder or sudden bouts of nausea. And I literally always take those pills with me everywhere I go. This girl is deathly allergic to peanuts, and she didn't take her meds with her? So, come on. So, they go to this high school party, right? And there is this girl chopping nuts in the most feverish way I've ever seen somebody chopping nuts in my life. Just like it was crazy. And That's, baking a cake and chopping nuts. That's totally something we did at all the high school parties. So the little girl eats a piece of cake. Her brother's like, eat the cake. Like, he's like shoving her to the cake. Eat the cake. And she's like, I don't want to. And he's like, eat it. Like, this little girl keeps getting like pulled in every direction that she doesn't want to do things. Nobody's listening to her. She eats the cake. And of course, she has a terrible allergic reaction. They have to leave. Driving home, there's this pole, like a trap. What am I trying to say? Telephone pole. And she is like scratching at her throat. Like, it reminded me of Game of Thrones when Joffrey got poisoned. And she rolls down the window and sticks her head out because she, needs the air, and boom, hits the telephone pole and her head flies off. And the little boy goes home and he doesn't say anything to his mom. And the mom finds it and she's like screaming. It's definitely the most memorable part of the movie for me. It was one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in cinema. It was absolutely heartbreaking. One of the really good things about this movie as well is that it doesn't rely on jump scares. I am over the jump scares. That was a very welcome thing in this movie. So when this movie first starts, like the first half, like I was saying, it's almost like the movie is less about horror and more about coping with loss. Like, the different stages of grief and the way different people handle different stages of grief. People process things differently. This movie is really good about that, with a little bit of paranormal sprinkled in. So it wasn't like a paranormal type movie. It was really, the first half, it's really, really good. So Toni Collette's character, I think her name's Annie. She meets another character. Her name is Joni, I think. They call her Joan. This lady, oh my gosh, she is just the most charming, come on into my house, sweetheart type of lady. I just loved her. She ends up being a bad guy. Why, Joan? But there's also the other most memorable part of the movie to me is the seance scene. My heart was pounding when I watched this. Like, Joan, she does a seance to try to communicate with her son and her grandson who have passed away. It's so subtle, but so scary. Like, there's the glass moves and the little boy picks up chalk and he starts writing. And Toni Collette's character is like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like, it was really, really, really good. So after we hit the hour mark in the movie, it's about an hour and 20 minutes in, I think, this movie starts to fall apart. It starts to get really slow, and not the good slow burn that we've been going through for the last hour. The husband gets really crappy towards the end. Like, his wife is having a total mental breakdown, and he's just like, this is such an inconvenience. But I feel like if this was happening to me, my husband would be desperately trying to figure out a way to get me some help. Why did they do that? What, so that we felt less upset when he died? Like, it's okay for us to be upset if a character dies. There was a seance scene where Annie communicates with Charlie and the glass moves and you actually hear Charlie's voice and the husband's just like, oh, stop that. Like, it's so unrealistic. Like, that is your daughter too. And I understand the son was scared, but at the same time, that's your baby girl. Wouldn't you be like, oh my gosh, let's talk to her. Let's make sure she's okay. Like, what is happening? Instead, it was all like, oh, Annie, what are you doing? I am so tired of the cliche of whether it's the husband or the wife or whoever, I don't care, the spouse, not believing when a ton of crap starts happening in the house. I mean, come on. We had it in Paranormal Activity 2. We had it in Paranormal Activity 3. Speaking of which, did this give people Paranormal Activity 3 vibes? It totally did me. I'm so over that frickin' trope. Although I did think it was really funny when he threw the water on her. Okay, and then there's also this scene where the mom and the son are talking at the dinner table, and she just completely snaps at him. And I get it. She's really stressed, and she's just trying to get her frustration out. But she's kind of trying to push the blame on him for Charlie's death when, I mean, you're the one that pushed and pushed for your baby girl to go to this party, and you are the parent. The son is obviously devastated by this, and he does blame himself. So I couldn't really back her up. There's also a part where she tells the son, like, sitting there with that face on his face, and I just cracked up. I don't think I was supposed to think it's funny. All I could think of was that scene in Tower Heist when Eddie Murphy is, like, pointing the gun at Ben Stiller. He's like, I will shoot your face, clean off your face. But that's supposed to be funny. This isn't. we have like a half hour left in the movie, and it just is like, it's just ridiculous. It's so, the ending of this movie completely ruins this whole movie. The minute that everything was like, this movie, I can't, was when the mom started crawling on the walls. Oh man, I've seen this. You've seen this movie before. Like, I've already seen this before. And then she starts like swimming through the house. I was half expecting Spider-Man's theme to start playing. The son crying and screaming, "Mommy," and slobbering all over the place. Jeez. And then her banging her head on the attic door. When did this movie become a comedy? When the son saw his mom cutting her own head off and just stood there. And then he looked down and he saw all the naked old people and he's like, ah! That is what threw him over the edge. And then he jumps out the window. I'm sorry. Oh gosh. I must have laughed. I couldn't stop laughing. It's such a good thing I didn't see this in theater. Because I would have lost it and everybody would have been like, shh. It was so funny. It reminded me of, okay, I'm going to review this movie someday too, but it's Midsummer. Also spoilers. There's a part where this guy is making love to this redhead girl, and there's like a huge gathering of people around him, and he's moaning and stuff because they're engaging, and all the ladies around him are moaning. And then my husband in the middle of the theater just lets out this huge moan. He's like, oh. I'm going to rip that movie a new one too one of these days. Okay. Get it together, Sam. We're off the rails now. The mom floats up into the treehouse that they have outside, and the son goes up there, and I don't even know what was going on. There was people like on the ground, like they were bowing. There was the mom without her head, and there was the grandma without her head, and then there was all the naked people that just terrified him. And then they put a crown on his head, and they tell him that he is one of the kings to the 8 circles of hell or whatever. I get it. Okay, I kind of get where they were going with this. Obviously, they wanted Charlie to be the one in charge or whatever. Oh my gosh, Charles in charge. But because the devil wanted a male host, they had to kill the son in order for the spirit of Charlie to be in the son's body so that she could rule hell. I don't know. It just got really stupid. Like, I'm so tired of like just using like devil and demons and witches and witchcraft and all this kind of stuff to wrap up your story, which you had a really good story about loss and the effect it has on humans and the psyche and all that kind of stuff going, and then demons. Anyway, this movie was over and I just literally rolled my eyes like, oh my gosh. So I don't really have a whole lot else to say about it. Unfortunately, the ending just completely ruined this whole movie, which is a shame because the first half started really good. Toni Collette is a freaking powerhouse in this movie, like she always is. I love this woman. But I have to give this movie a C-, just because, like I said, halfway through it starts to get really slow, and then the ending is just completely ridiculous. Also, enough with the cliches. I am so over it. Horror fans, we are done with spouses not believing other spouses and people crawling on walls and the devil being the reason for everything. Anyway, that's my review for Hereditary. No, I did not like this movie. And remember, guys, this is just my opinion. If you liked the movie, it is perfectly okay. Like I have said before, we can all be different and we can still be beautiful. It's perfectly fine if you like this movie. MamaSam did not like this movie. I promise I'm going to review a scary movie one of these days I actually do like. I'm going to. I swear it's going to happen. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Don't forget to send your stories to sharewithmamasam@gmail.com. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends.